So this is a story about Biff Wilson and the $3,000 jacket at Motor Convoy, and then I'm going to add to it a story that's connected some 20 years later from Alaska, and I think you'll get a kick out of this. You know, we had been talking to Biff Wilson. Biff was in Decatur, Georgia. It's a little suburb of inside Atlanta, and Biff had 1,000 drivers that would drive these brand new cars from the Ford factory to the dealership. And they, you know, these are the ones stacked on those piggyback trailers. When you're driving down the road, you see them bouncing up and down. You think, oh my goodness, I hope it doesn't fall off. One of those cars falls off and hits me. And so they had a contest they'd run for several years where if you could drive 3 months without scratching a car, when you backed it off and delivered it to the dealer, you would earn $400 cash. That was a lot of money back in 1984. And I kept saying, Biff, we can do this with positive reinforcement. We can make it recognition-based, symbolic reinforcers, and we can really have an impact on, I think, your behavior and your numbers and probably save you a little money. Finally, one day I get a phone call from Biff. Okay, Bill, we're ready to try your program. You know, your idea's out. What are you going to suggest? And I said, well, you spent $400,000 last quarter giving cash awards out. Why don't you budget, what, $300,000? He said, well, Bill, he says, business has been kind of tough. We don't have that much to spend. We were thinking more like $35,000. Say, what? Biff, are you setting me up for failure? I mean, I bit my tongue. I didn't say it, but that's what I was thinking. I really thought he was trying to get rid of me, you know, because there was just no way you could take a $400,000 incentive budget and replace it with a $35,000 one. No way. I mean, you take those guys' $400 check away, they're going to be so mad, they're going to be keying the cars. I mean, that's what I would have done, right? I said, Biff, I don't think it's going to work. And he said, well, you know, do you want the shot or not? I said, I'll give it a shot. You know, I'm not making you any promises. So I thought and I thought and I thought about what would have meaning for these drivers that, you know, they're not going to get their money because the company's having hard times. What could we do? And back in the 80s, there was a jacket that everybody wanted. It's called the members only jacket. It had the, you know, the epaulets and the dog leash collar. If you watch the movie Chevy Chase, Family Vacation, you'll see him. He's always got his on with the sleeves rolled up. And back in the day, those were pretty, you know, hot commodities. So somehow we found a supplier that would embroider Biff's Motor Convoy Professional Driver logo on these members-only jackets and would do it for $35. I said, Biff, you probably need to go ahead and buy those. And by the way, I'd put them in the warehouse because they need to be an immediate reinforcer handed to the guy the minute he hits the goal of driving 3 months without scratching a car. And then we rolled it out to the drivers. We said, guys, we're going to be straight up. The company's having hard times. We hope to get back to the cash award. We can't do it this quarter. But we do want to honor you with this jacket, this professional driver jacket. We've never made them before. We're never going to make them again. They are collector's items. And you drive 3 months without scratching a car, you get the jacket. We did not tell them how much the jacket cost. That's an important thing that you don't ever want to do. So next 3 months are probably the longest months of my life. I'm like thinking, oh, this is going to be a terrible program. You know, it's going to be awful. I called Biff up at the end of the session, the contest. I said, Biff, how did it go? Bill, we got better results from this $35,000 positive reinforcement system than any of our cash incentive programs before now. I said, great. Why? He said, we're still trying to figure it out, but here's a little story that I think helps you understand what went on. The last day of our contest, one of our drivers backs his truck into a light pole hanging down, takes out the back window of a brand new Ford Taurus, does $3,000 in damage. He's not going to get a jacket because he didn't drive 3 months without damaging a car. He is so moved by this and upset by this that he drives 4 hours to my office. Mr. Wilson, Mr. Wilson. Yeah, Joe, come on in. Sir, I'd like to buy the car. Say, what? Yeah, I'll pay the $3,000 to fix the car. Why would you do that? Because I don't want to be the only guy in my terminal without a jacket. I learned right then and there the power of positive reinforcement. What did Biff do? Well, what would you do? Would you just let the guy have a jacket? Oh, he's such a great worker to come in and offer to do that. Give him a jacket. Most people would. Many people would. A lot of people wouldn't. And before I give you the answer what Biff did, I'm going to take you 20 years into the future to Alaska, where I told the same story. And a leader came up to me and he said, I had the same thing happen to me. He said, you see, I created a jacket that was a collector's item for our drivers. I told them, it's a leather jacket. To get this, you got to drive 5 years without a chargeable accident. And our guys would get so mad when we'd have an accident, they would threaten to sue me, claiming it wasn't their fault. And I'd say, no, you got another 5 years till you can get your jacket. Now, you just stay safe and you can do it. He said, one day my worst nightmare happened. The owner of the company had an 18-year-old son, and this guy came to work for me as a driver. He took one look at those leather jackets and he wanted one. And I said, well, son, you can have one, but you got to drive 5 years like everybody else. He told his father, the owner of the company, how much he wanted a jacket, and I got a phone call. It was the owner. Hey, my boy wants a jacket. Sir, I can't do that. I've made, stake my reputation on your son's got to work 5 years with the company and do it just like everybody else. Maybe you didn't hear me. My boy wants a jacket. He says, I knew it was either my job or give the kid a jacket. He says, I rolled over. I gave the kid a jacket. He says, the next morning I came in and on my desk I found 23 leather jackets. The other drivers didn't want them anymore. So, what do you think Biff Wilson should have done? Give the guy a jacket or let him buy the car and cheapen it for everybody else? Biff said it was the hardest decision of his management career, but that worker did not ever get a jacket because Biff didn't want to cheapen it for everybody else. And so when you set up systems and you make things contingent upon if you do this, we do that, you got to stick by your guns. If you don't, you create entitlement, which is probably what that young son of the owner had been taught his whole life. I learned once again the power of positive reinforcement that day.